You're facing this existential crisis almost every 5 years, and the nerd inside of you want to check everything about it before taking a decision. Your wife might divorce you because you're looking at the 5,000 new MacBook Pro you fantasize that would solve all your problems. Even worse than that, despite the fact that you are using headphones, she can listen to you listening to all this pissing contest benchmark that doesn't provide any solution, and you cannot come to a decision. You bought an M1 5 years ago. Should you upgrade? Spoiler alert, no. Well, actually it's a little more complicated than that, and in the spirit of love of this channel, I'm gonna try to help you find an option. This is Gilles for Real Sound Reviews, and from a musician perspective, we'll all been using some MacBook Pros, and I will try to consider all the cases here, because this is also about video editing, and there is a big picture coming that we will address. Let's try to consider every perspective. There is this new thing that is totally logical, which is the MacBook Neo. If you're a student, if this is for your homework, presentation, writing, browser, you name it, and from time to time you will use the Mac ecosystem to edit a video or making a podcast, the MacBook Neo is your way to go. And this is probably the kind of computer you are going to buy for your children if you are a student or in college. This is the kind of computer you would recommend to your nephew, your niece, if they ask to you. Now, about music, I'm always surprised by the kind of power people need in 2026 to simply make a decent mix. I remember the time where I was making the wall mix on a Pentium 4, even before the Core 2 Duo. But okay, I'll try to consider cases that are on my own. If you think about it, and from my perspective, I use the computer mainly as a recorder and for edition. There are here and there some plugins to make corrections, and basically that's it. I use a mixing table sometimes, and according to the principle garbage in, garbage out, I try to solve all the problems in the sound take. There are two cases where you need a lot of computing power and space. For example, people who are doing sound design for filmmaking. Maybe they need to level up their configuration. Fair enough, this is understandable. And if you are running a professional studio, you need to have the same upgrades like the people you are going to work with. You can have a look at my interview with my friend Alex, who describe how difficult it is sometimes and how you need to clean all the mess, and denoising is one of the most demanding tasks, even if we are in 2026. So I suppose there are some progress with the Isotope series and so on. The second case is if your sound production at home is essentially based on virtual instrument. I'm not talking about synthesizers, I'm talking about the kind of virtual instrument where the musician have considered most of all the cases, and these are very powerful production tools, and they become even more useful since we have all been locked down 5 years ago. If you're scoring at full load with Contact or Spitfire, upgrading might be the way to go for you. In every other cases, I believe M1 was already overkill. Think about it, do you need these 300 tracks you've built? I mean, the Beatles were recording on a 4-track, but what I would like to remember with you is how silent the M1 was, and in a home studio configuration, this is where we got a lot of benefits. And at the time, I began this channel building a silent Hackintosh, but I was caught off guard by the M1 release, and this is what happened.
You have done well, Lord Vader.
The M1 will be ready in time, my master.
There is a great disturbance in the Force. We have a new enemy. Real Sound Reviews is preparing a silent Hackintosh.
What should I do, my master?
Find him and bring him to me. Together we will turn him to the power of the upgrade.
As you wish.
About video editing. Now, every year we have these benchmark, and we don't have a clue about the real world video editing. I mean, this is not a spoiler. If you are using Final Cut on a Mac, you know how well this software is optimized. The real gap was not between the M2 and the M3 or switching to the M4. The real gap at the beginning was between the M1 and the M1 Pro, because it included the media engines that were game changer. For example, on an M1, if you export, the export time will be equivalent to the length of your video. If you export in ProRes, you divide the time almost by 3, and if you export in other codecs, you divide the time approximately in half. Depends indeed on other factors, but if you use a lot of mask, because this is very based on AI engine pattern recognition systems, this is where the generation of M4 and M5 are faster. Another case where you might need the last generation in terms of video editing is if you are doing color grading. A lot of nodes, denoising, 6K or 8K RAW. I understand that the M5 Pro or Max will get you there while you are drinking your coffee. Either way, an M1 Pro to edit in 4K in 2026 is still a valuable solution. What we need if we work in ProRes is a lot of space, and at the time using a 1 terabyte MacBook Pro was really tiny. If you use an external SSD, there is another problem, which is thermal throttling of the SSD, and this was some sort of game changer for me. This Acasis Thunderbolt Bay has a fan on its own, which provide a secure way to work with an external disk. This is still also valuable, and Thunderbolt 4 remains a very decent format in terms of bandwidth. So we come to the last case, and this is about AI and LLM, and everybody thought that Apple was late on AI. And they were not. They just skip a step to provide something that will be more ethical. If you look at Nate B. Jones' channel, he will explain to you why outsourcing your output data to a company that doesn't share your views and that involve your very liability for lawyers and but not only for therapists, for MDs, is not something that you can overcome that easily. It's not even possible to do this. And the future of AI is to run locally. And then we come to the technical mess that it will require now. About technical question, I recommend Alex Ziskin's channel. We will explain to you how difficult and nerdish it is to run a local language model on computer, even when you make clusters. It's improving slowly and surely, but we have here two paths that are promising. First one is quantization. It's a way to reduce model that making them smaller will provide very good results, and let us hope that we will be able to run them locally. But still, the bigger the model, the better the result, and we will need really more RAM. And Apple got a very strong asset, which is the shared memory between the CPU and the GPU. And the GPU is the way to go when you run a large language model, for reasons that now everybody knows more or less. This is maybe where we understand that we need to wait, because we are in the middle of a RAM price crisis, like it was the case 5 years ago when everybody was mining some cryptocurrency. And maybe we need more power because we don't want to surrender on the results that we all appreciate when we are using OpenAI or Claude or you name it. I don't raise the ethical questions linked to the use of what we call AI, and I think we should be very careful with that and what we expect from this technology. I recommend to you look at Mo Bitar channel, very interesting, very sarcastic, and a lot of very good punchline from this guy. But in terms of switching from M1 to M5, I believe this is one of the options you should consider. And with this machine in a couple of years, you will be able to do everything. Editing, music, and browsing with your niece or your son to go to the internet, and maybe not using your computer and have a family day. So maybe this is what you're doing right now. Tell me if you share the same feelings about this next level and upgrading your Mac. Like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.